Rules on work from home have changed several times since March 2020, and it can be hard to keep up or know what's best for your business and for your staff. During this time, employment law itself has not changed. So all of the same duties and obligations that applied prior to the pandemic continue to apply, and all of the same considerations that employers had for health and safety continue to exist. With the announcement of a more permanent return to workplaces, it's important to remember that workplaces need to remain safe and need to remain COVID secure. Just because you can come back to work now doesn't mean that you necessarily should do so or should do so immediately. Many businesses have worked to make offices COVID safe and secure, but with an increase in staff returning to workplaces and offices, new risk assessments may need to be undertaken and new measures put in place to ensure that staff feel safe and secure. I think employers can adopt a common sense approach in dealing with these issues and to avoid unnecessary conflict with staff or even between staff. These issues can be flashpoints, and there can be polarized opinions on things like wearing face masks that employers need to manage between their staff. Vaccination has been a great thing for the nation, and it has helped a lot of people return to work and feel safe and secure. But for one reason or another, not everyone has been able to get vaccinated, and there are legitimate medical reasons for people not to take it up. Equally, for those who have been double vaccinated, it may not be as effective for them as it is for other people. So vaccination is not necessarily the magic pill that we thought it would be. And businesses need to ensure that any policies they implement aren't too vague or too lax. This could be a breach of their health and safety duties. Equally, however, policies which are too restrictive or perhaps too one-dimensional may have unintended consequences, such as discriminating against employees. This would lead to those policies being unenforceable. Businesses also need to ensure that practices and ad hoc decisions are both reasonable and appropriate. So, for example, there has been a recent report that the number of people being pinged by the NHS Track and Trace app is increasing. And some employers might be tempted to ask staff to turn their apps off, either at particular times or permanently, to ensure they aren't pinged and so they don't have to isolate at home and are off work. But it's unlikely that a blanket request of this kind would be considered proportionate, fair, or reasonable, and it's likely to cause the employer more harm long term if they have staff who are unwittingly spreading COVID within the workplace. And they also may be in breach of particular COVID regulations, depending on what and how they tell staff, but also of their health and safety duties. If they are knowingly allowing people to enter the workplace in an unsecure and unsafe way and facilitating the spread of the virus in the workplace, that's likely to be a breach of health and safety obligations. Giving staff the choice, for example, to wear face masks, while clearly setting out the company's legitimate aim in wanting to retain face mask wearing, is an example of how to potentially avoid issues. Being creative is key, for example, in leaving face masks wearing up to personal choice. And it might be that rather than a blanket requirement to wear face masks, companies can tailor their policies. So, for example, face masks need to be worn in public areas like receptions and corridors or in customer-facing roles, but where an individual works in an office that is their own, for example, face masks might not be required. Policy should reflect the requirement of the particular workplace and the particular workforce, and staff should be consulted on these policies and developed in tandem with them. That is likely to be the best way to ensure their compliance and also mitigate against any further issues arising. Discrimination is a key consideration for employers, and employers need to be conscious that some disabilities can be hidden, and for example, requirements to wear face masks or to attend offices full-time can affect people differently and disproportionately. Some people were told to shield as well, and they may still feel anxious and still possibly are vulnerable. And so employers need to be live to the fact that people with certain medical conditions may have different needs than those who don't. Wholesale returning to the workplace is a possible flashpoint and can cause legal issues. Again, health and safety duties mean that some staff should be allowed to continue to work from home, and flexible working requests will increase, and employers need to ensure they deal with them in a reasonable, proportionate and consistent manner while also taking them on a case-by-case basis. A common sense approach that balances the needs of the business with the circumstances of the individual is likely to be the best way forward. Employers have been incredibly creative and ingenious in recent months about how to manage their businesses with ever-changing legal obligations and requirements while also managing a workforce. And those qualities will be important in ensuring a largely consensual, legally compliant, and a conflict-free workplace as we transition out of the pandemic. For further information on this, please visit the Collyer Bristow website or do contact me or another member of the employment team here at Collyer Bristow.